I've always been a person with a lot of diverse interests and hobbies and things that I've worked on. I started my career as a graphic designer. I was very involved in 3D for many, many years. I was a licensee of Lightwave, and I used that from NewTek for years to produce just thousands of different renders. I've been involved in 3D using XSI. I've used tons of different pieces of design software on many different platforms through the years, both professionally and as a hobbyist. I've been really involved in Linux, Unix operating systems. I've run tons of different alternative platforms, both as a hobbyist and professionally. And I also have a huge career in marketing and sales. And in fact, it's probably over 50% of what I've done professionally has always been involved in business development, working on the side of systems implementation and setting up the marketing and sales systems to generate the sort of engine that propels the business forward. Now, why I'm talking about all this is project management is at the heart of what I've been tasked with doing just about everywhere, just about every time, and in just about every role. I've always been involved in managing projects that have many levels of complexity and bring together many different systems and often many different personalities and different disciplines to get the results at the end that the business needs to achieve to be successful. This is something that took me many years to master. And I'm still not a master. Nobody's ever really a master. If you say you're a master, it means you're done learning, and I am certainly not done learning. But project management, I've got a lot of tips for you guys. I have a lot of very strong opinions on this subject because I've been involved in project management of the kind that you're going to experience when you're running an agency for, many, many years. And I know what works, and I know pretty well what doesn't work. So I thought I'd do a video here to just talk to you broadly about project management and the raw materials of getting it right? Basically, what ingredients are going to come up with a good end result for the project? Well, for starters, note-taking, documentation. Good project management begins with an understanding that all data, all information pertinent and relevant to the given project needs to be saved. It needs to be documented. And what I mean by that would be all of the interactions you're having with your client. And to that end, not having a whole bunch of different people talk to the end client and give them different stories. You need a unified message as a company. What this means from your perspective is, let's say you sell somebody, right? So say you sell somebody a website. Let's keep it simple. Your business, let's say there's 4 people that work at your business. If you sell somebody a site or a salesperson sells them, they should have one known and declared point of contact with the business. What ends up happening in bad project management will be where the person hits support, gets one message, emails the salesperson, gets another, calls the company, gets another, calls again and gets someone else and gets another. And now you have 4 voices all giving slightly different messages to the client. That's going to cause chaos. That's why we have a dedicated project manager. Somebody is tasked with handling this website's project. Doesn't mean they're the person doing the design. Doesn't mean they're the person doing the code. Doesn't mean they're the person doing anything. It just means they're the person that is unifying this message, this person that is the single point of contact to the client, and also responsible internally with figuring out what should and shouldn't be said to them and what is or isn't getting done, and understands the project itself, is taking ownership of that project. That's the first thing they need to get right. The second thing, and this is really on the salespeople. This is really on you as a company and the salespeople that you run under you and your processes, making sure that expectations are managed from day one. One of the biggest things, I have seen so many projects, and I've rescued a lot of projects like this, where a sale was made to a company. Expectations were set up by that salesperson, either intentionally or by mistake, that did not comport with analog reality. Okay. It could have been a situation, just let's go with website. Let's say that you have a site and its homepage is going to be 50 feet long, right? One page, but it's like 50 feet of stuff. It's like a 10,000 element page. And then there's 2 other pages. Salesperson sells it as a 3-page website, and the paperwork, the documentation that comes through to the company is, it's a 3-page site. Then all of a sudden development work begins, and we find out that this site's, homepage is going to be 5 feet long of, graphics, text, and all kinds of stuff. Well, now the price has to change because the salesperson didn't sell it correctly, and they put expectations that this was acceptable and this was going to be a low price to a client who now hears that they're going to have to have to pay 3 or 4 or 5 times the price or more. Well, there you go. That's a nightmare. That's how a nightmare got started. Other things, little things that seem little at the time of a sale. Many times, you'll sell somebody something and they'll ask, is this included or is that included? And you'll get a yes answer when the answer should have been no. And this can be any kind of feature. It could be, you could ask, the client could ask, hey, on my site, are you guys including a WebM video on my homepage, for example? Because I really want to have a full page graphic display there and play there. Salesperson says, yeah, sure, that's no big deal. Site goes through into development, and all right, it's going to be a huge deal because we have to figure out which video, we have to format it, we have to, we're opening a can of worms here. Situations like this. So, expectation management. How I've always handled expectation management is a trust but verify policy, and sometimes it's even a distrust and vilify policy, because salespeople will generally push the envelope a little bit. I'm not saying all salespeople. There are many very ethical salespeople out there. However, there are a lot of people who are unethical, even if they don't realize they are. They're just pushing to get a sale, and they'll say anything to get that paperwork signed and get money in their bank account. It's greedy human nature, and I almost can't blame them for it. However, you're going to take it on the chin for that. So after each and every sale, clients need to be called up and everything needs to be gone over with them on the phone. This is what you bought. This is what to expect. These are the steps. These are the systems. This is your point of contact. And this is what you're going to get and when you're going to get it. Also, laying out their responsibilities. Very important. Big problem that happens with, minor league project management is irresponsibility. No responsibility. No expectation of responsibility. Clients feel like things will just happen magically. They just pay the money and then everything happens. Because it's never explained to them that, you're on the hook to supply us with graphics. You're on the hook to supply us with text. You're on the hook to supply us with direction in terms of design. You're going to have to make yourself available for meetings to go over what we're doing, et cetera, et al. Could be anything there. If clients don't feel that they're on the hook to do any of this stuff, well, they just won't do it. They just don't care. And when you email them, 2 weeks into development and beg them to come on to a webinar or come on to a screen sharing session and talk about this stuff, and they're like, well, I can't make time for you. That's how huge delays begin and turn into negative reviews sometimes, because clients feel that this should have been taken care of by you. Or sometimes they rightly feel like this should have been explained to them and it wasn't. Very important. Anyhow, stepping back from the problems of expectations management, the next major thing project management hinges upon are systems. Now, I'm kind of a partisan here when it comes to project management systems, because I don't even know if there are 2 schools of thought. I think there's my school of thought and then there's maybe everybody else. But to me, a system is as good as its utilization. And what I mean by that is you can have a really amazing system with tons and tons and tons of features, but if it's not being utilized, those features effectively don't exist, or they exist only in theory. And when it comes to project management systems, there are tons of them out there, even popular ones that you see advertised, that have literally thousands of bells and whistles, hundreds of features, all kinds of stuff. However, in the real world of using that system, unless you're a major corporation that invests tons of money and tons of time in training and forces compliance under the threat of, sanction of some kind, you're not going to get compliance, because these are very inconvenient tools to use. There's so many of them. There's so much inscrutable detail that you can't ask somebody who's a programming specialist to, suddenly become a CRM specialist or project management system specialist, just to satisfy a whole bunch of things that system needs them to do. You end up with systems that are so complicated that, using the system becomes the person's job. And I hate that. I think that's completely wrong. Systems need to be simplified enough so that you can reasonably expect 80, 90, 100% compliance all the time. If they're not, then I throw them in the garbage. I won't use or ever implement a system like that. There is a time and a place for complex systems. Marketing automation systems are always going to be complex to a degree, because it's kind of baked in the cake of them doing a lot of different functions. But a project management system being complex, to me, there's no excuse for it, yet I see it all the time. This thing is here to, basically monitor tasks and make sure and dole out resources and time and, set down expectations for people, to have stuff done in various deliverable due dates. It's not supposed to be a system that has, crazy integrated chat functions that nobody uses, or, just all kinds of crazy nonsense, emailers that are integrated into the system, and just stuff that you do not need at a business, in my opinion. So when it comes to project management systems, I see people spending a lot of money on systems. They'll implement them at their very small business, especially if you're a reseller, and the vendors will never use the system because they're not going to invest 5 minutes in using your system just to make you happy. And then why should they? You're buying a service from them. They're going to expect you to bend and flex around their systems. And since they're all going to use different systems much of the time, it doesn't make a lot of sense that you have some big, clunky, very expensive, complicated system that that doesn't fit your business. So what I suggest to people, and again, I'm not an affiliate of this company in any way, shape, or form, is Smartsheets. Smartsheets is incredibly versatile, incredibly simple, incredibly flexible, and I have used it to scale and do so much project management. It's not even funny. I've been using that app since about 2005 or 6, the year they came out, and it's astounding. If you want to know why it's astounding, go get yourself a demo. There's a free 30-day demo of it you can go get over at smartsheet.com. Costs peanuts, like $14 a month. You don't need a huge account most of the time. And it gives you the ability to basically keep track of massive amounts of passwords and credentials and documents and files and images and audio and different clients' information, and run project after project after project through it. And it's easy enough to use that vendors usually don't mind jumping in there and using it if you set it up right. And it's great because you can, basically archive and keep all of your old projects there ready to go. And with a momentary click of the mouse, you can reactivate an old project when you upsell somebody to start doing work again. I absolutely love that. Is it as full-featured as a full-on project management system? No, but I don't think that it needs to be. So on that note, I'm pretty partisan, obviously, and I'm also pretty experienced, and I've worked with a lot of different project management tools. If I were doing code, Git would be what I'd be working with, right? Git's amazing. If I'm running an open source project, if I'm running something, the same exact thing in a closed source manner where we're not doing just code, I'm going to use Smartsheets. I'm going to put everybody in there. I'm going to assign them all tasks, create a sheet, put the project on that sheet, assign everybody tasks to do, dump the tasks in there, and let them go. They go in, they check the tasks when they're done. New tasks come after old tasks, and it's all just set up, and it runs like clockwork, and it's very simple. All the files they need are all in the file section. It gives me a modified date and the date it was created, so I can keep version tracking. Is extremely simple of files, and easy to use system. And the last thing about project management, beyond the systems and beyond, the problems with personnel and problems with expectations, is problem with overall technical comprehension. Technical comprehension doesn't often get discussed in this industry in the context of project management, or in the context of good or bad management or good or bad hiring of people. It's almost like it flies under the radar. A lot of people don't think about it. A lot of people, programmers, designers, IT systems personnel that do security and database work and all kinds of different experts have massive holes in their knowledge. Massive, massive, massive holes in their knowledge. They know nothing, not thing one, about business and about the real world use of the things that they develop and work with every single day. You'll see this all too often in project management, where people just have naive, outlandish, ignorant beliefs that they kind of put into their work and it shows up in process, and it shows up in the work they deliver, and it shows up in how they manage projects and how they manage their interactions as developers and people within those projects, both with other developers and with clients, and how businesses behave towards clients as well. technical ignorance of all kinds of stuff. You can have people who don't understand file formats, don't understand how cameras work, don't understand how image editors work, don't have a clue about how programmers do their job. Programmers who don't have a clue about how salespeople do their job or how marketing works. Marketing people who don't have a clue at all about the actual product. People who totally don't understand business models whatsoever, so they don't understand that a pizza shop is retail. They think of it in terms of an e-commerce store, but try selling pizza on the internet, it's probably been tried and it doesn't work. You know what I mean? You got to go pick it up. Ordering online does. But the point is, you have all this technical confusion, all this craziness. And what you have to do if you're going to be a successful project manager is to clearly, very pragmatically, look at the resources you have in terms of people, assess them, and put them where they're going to do the job that they're supposed to do. But do not ever work through assumptions, assuming that anything is common sense to anyone. Not when it comes to project management. In real life, a lot of things are common sense to people, a lot of the time, but you'll be stunned by how much stuff is not. And IT common sense, is one of those things that you build, at least I built up, through years and years of working in diverse environments, doing different stuff, working with everything from HRIS systems to EIS systems to CRMs, CS, just programming in Fortran and TCL and doing scripting and CSS and HTML and working with C code and ASM and working on embedded systems and working in electronics and moving all over the place in IT. Gradually, you get this kind of general understanding and comprehension of it. And the same is for business. I did marketing, I did business development, I built companies. And this isn't to brag at all. I'm just saying, though, because I bounced around and I got a taste of many different flavors of business and technology, I was able to translate that into an overarching understanding of project management so that I could handle big projects because I understood how all the different parts fit together. Now, you at your agency, if you're doing white label reselling, you don't have a lot of the headaches of, managing developers and managing content creators and managing, vendor relationships and stuff like that. But what you do have is the headache of working between your company and your clients and tap dancing around, any issues that arise in terms of timeframes and deliverables and clients giving you trouble and giving you grief and getting them to be motivated enough to hold up their end of the bargain, and of course billing issues and all that kind of stuff that you have in business. But keeping all of this in mind, this overall subject of project management, do not feel bad if you have some hiccups. Don't feel like you have to hit the ball out of the park day one. Don't feel like projects need to just go off totally smooth every single time, because they're not going to. It takes a while for you to get your business into a well-oiled machine. Even though you're reselling, even though the burden is very light on you, the burden is still there and it's still real. And I'm the last person who is going to criticize you if you're coming into this industry from an outside industry, or maybe you were never a business person at all and then you're a new entrepreneur. If you hit a few roadblocks, you stumble a couple times. People have that happen. That's natural. It's going to happen. So considering that, don't be too hard on yourself, but be a student of your craft. Learn from your mistakes. I don't fault anybody for making mistakes or for having misfortune hit them at all, but I do fault people who don't learn from it and learn in the future to be protected. So when you go into project management, when you sell deals to people and, you're going to be looping around to delivering it, look at everything with, open eyes. Look at everything in terms of a opportunity to learn, and you will be successful ultimately. If you keep trying, I guarantee you'll be successful at the end of the day. Anyhow, that's going to wrap up this vid. If you want more tips from Rocket Driver, be sure to subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and ring that bell so you get notified when we drop new vids. I'll see you in the next one.